welcome to the Pod Collect. No. Hello and welcome to Graftcast, the show where we talk to business owners about their professional journeys. Who have we got on today, Jack?
We've got Will Locke. He is a fitness expert and guru with his own fitness business.
Oh, brilliant. So this is a really interesting episode. He talks about his solopreneurial journey. He started out with two other people, but now he's gone off by himself, and it's a really cool episode.
Stay tuned.
So, Will, welcome to Graftcast and welcome to the Podbox.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Have you always been entrepreneurial?
No, not at all. It's something that was almost blessed upon me as an opportunity rather than something that I wanted to go for. And since I've made that choice, I don't think I could go the other way. I think I'll be self-employed for life.
No, I can see what you mean with that. I find being in business for 6 years now, you think at the time, you completely different juxtaposition for when you're working with someone else and working by yourself. I think I can. Well, obviously, I'm not going to be like, if someone tells you, Jack, do this, I'm like, no, fuck off. I wouldn't be like that. But to the point, I can't imagine being fully told what to do and having to do everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, anything with minute management or someone else has expectations. Like if you know how you like something, it's like, well, then that's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got that with their partner, right?
Yeah. And some people say,
wash the dishes, but not like that.
Some people say that they're unemployable now. I feel like I'm probably in that sort of bracket.
Phrase, actually.
To a degree, I think there will be different parts to employment. Like if someone was to just say, look, there is something I would like to hire you to do. To a degree, yeah, you kind of could take some small responsibilities on, but in terms of full employment, 9 to 5 or anything like that, I would struggle for sure.
Yeah. And so, what is it that you, just for the audience, what is it that you do currently?
So I currently run a non-affiliate CrossFit gym is probably the best way of describing it. I've been a personal trainer for 14 plus years. I've sort of made my way through from sort of being the standard gym instructor, being a personal trainer, being a studio coordinator, so running a whole class timetable in a gym, then ended up running a small gym that was all functional fitness based. When that eventually came to a head where I was made redundant and they were closing that part of the gym down, I was then blessed with an opportunity of right, what do I do now? And the only solution I had at that moment was making my own business. So contacted a lad I knew who was already in business and had a facility. I was like, do you fancy getting in business together? So we made a business just shy of 6 years ago. Brilliant. And then I've been running sessions sort of all day. So the model I have is a coaching model. So it's not a gym where people can come in and freely use. The only times they're in is where they will then be doing my programming, and the programming they're doing is always getting live coaching and feedback from me, guide them through the warm-up. Because of the time constraints, I will do a warm-up, I will do the workout. In terms of a cool-down, I will let them kind of move themselves. You're going to get far more benefit walking around at the end and being active for the next half an hour afterwards, rather than doing a couple of sort of arbitrary stretches of your hamstrings and then going and sitting in your car and having a long journey home.
And was there a reason why you particularly went for that model over, the gym, normal sort of gym sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's the model is making sure people get results. And if people are left to their own devices, they can walk into a room and feel like they're getting results, but they're not. And ultimately, a lot of what I have is the experience and the knowledge and the know-how, which is allowing me to sort of pass it on. So if people are already buying into that, it's just a model where more people sign up. There's just that amount of people in the class, and I teach everyone as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
For the business currently, so you said how long have you been in business for now?
So 3 Pillars has been just shy of 6 years. 6 years. I think the birthday celebrated mid-September.
Okay. So what is the plan for now? What's your goal currently?
So the plan is just to create more stability in the facility I'm at. And then ideally I'm going to be too busy where my classes are too fully booked. So my options then are either getting another coach in and expanding times out. So I only do 1 class of an evening at the moment, but there is plenty of time in an evening if I was to do 2 classes. But once it's I'm filled to capacity within this facility, it will then be looking to expand and go elsewhere, which will then grant its own opportunities in other things. So at the moment, where I'm letting, I can't sublet what I'm letting because I don't have full control. Where I'm based, there's also other businesses in and around me. So it's not, I wouldn't have any full say of exactly what goes on because there's obviously other people's equipment, things like that. If I was to have my own place, that would then open up the opportunity. So if I was then to rent out, if there were any PTs that wanted to train at certain times, that would be a possibility as well, or someone that wanted to teach something that I'm not well versed in. So there'll be things like yoga, things like that.
Brilliant. And so you mentioned in the sort of pre-chat that you're now sort of a solopreneur. Can you talk us through sort of what happened with that? Because you started out with a few different people, didn't you? Yeah.
So what happened was, in my previous job, I was running the facility. There was a couple of coaches there. We were tended to be quite understaffed, but there was one lad that I was quite fond of, knew his stuff. So when we were closing down and we were looking at different options of what we could do, I made a suggestion to him, and then I had a friend that was already at the facility I'm at now. He was running a boot camp, and I said, look, we've got a potential for running a business. How does this sound? So when we started sort of feeding the idea, a lot of it was coming, or like the inception of the thought was from me. So 3 pillars. It wasn't just about, it was 3 of us, and it's called 3 pillars. The main thing about the business was the people and the community. That's fundamentally what it's about. If everyone is there to support each other, everyone can have a good day, a bad day, but when you come to the gym, everything else is irrelevant. You are here to support. Doesn't matter whether you're a CEO, whether you're a janitor, wherever you are in life, everyone is equal when you step foot in the gym. The other part of that is performance. So you are here to get results. So we're making sure, running through the program, you are going to get results. If you aren't getting the weights and things tracked, how do we define whether you're getting improvement or not? So where we record our workouts, that's where we know we're getting that. And then the final part is almost the power. So are we implanting knowledge to people so that they know that they're successful? You aren't married to anything. So when people come to us, it might be a short-term journey. They might be here for 6 months and then going off traveling. They could be doing anything. So we're imparting that knowledge so that in the future they can go off and, they're going to have that for life. Mm-hmm. When we started to fundamentally make that business, it was obviously perfect timing, because about 2-3 months later, it was the beginning of COVID. So we had just put like a lease down where we had just started to make it the facility we wanted. And then from closing down, we had some issues where one of my colleagues at the time decided that it would be a great business plan for him to, for the business to pay to get his shifts covered when he teaches. And then he can go off, and then he doesn't have the same constraints if he wanted to go and find full-time work elsewhere. That obviously was not in the business's interests. And then that did lead to some friction. It wasn't the nicest of processes, but thankfully that was a risk of the business ending up going under. And thankfully it didn't. We managed to resolve it, find a figure to buy him out. So me and my original colleague then had to take up his hours. So when we then had to redistribute sort of a 3-person's job into 2, it then just become a bit too much of a workload for my other colleague. And then the opportunity was just blessed on me, where it's like, right, well, if I want it, this is either me all in or not at all. And I've kind of just stuck with it. I don't know whether it's like a testament to me having a vision in what I want, or whether it's just me just persevering because I'm stupid. I don't know. It's one or the other.
So being now in business for yourself and by yourself, how have you found the process so far?
One of the biggest things I struggle with is there's different times where workloads need to be done. So I always associate certain places with certain actions. So me being at home, I associate with relaxing. So I can't work from home. If I'm at home, I need to mentally switch off and disengage. But then it's finding different places where, if I'm in the gym and I think, oh, let's do some admin, if I go to whack out my laptop, oh, but there's something here, and let's go clean this, and let's do, like, I will find myself distracted. I think the benefit of employment is if someone goes, right, here's what I want you to do and here's where you go, that's, clear directive, I'm going for that. When it's all down to yourself, I can almost get that analysis paralysis of, there's 5 things I want to do, and by the end of today, I might have decided which one was best for me to do, but I've missed the opportunity to do it. Tomorrow's a new day, and then some things kind of fall by the wayside, because it's almost like that, pick A or pick B, and I'm almost a bit can't think of the word, but I can't pull the trigger. Like I'm a bit hesitant.
Right. Yeah.
I think I definitely know what you mean, because I know what we discussed earlier. I feel like to myself a bit unemployable to someone else, but then in the team like me and Hugo have, I like it when we're like, all right, you guys are Jack, we need to do A, B, and C. You do this, okay, cool. You do that. I quite like
The delegation.
that stuff,
Yeah.
and like that's when you can, because I know what you mean. Because sometimes if you want to do 10 things, you end up doing none of them. So there are, like, now if you think about it, that there's so many things we could be doing, and sometimes it is hard to find out what's the most important thing to do. So in this time frame, knowing what you know now, are you looking at the aspect of delegation, or you want to crack on, boys, keep doing what you're doing?
There's definitely an aspect of delegation. I've been with some business mentors, which always helps, because rebounding your ideas off of someone, being trapped on your own is genuinely quite horrible with the thoughts. But having someone to like rebound off just to get some ideas, there have been some people that will help out. But one of the things that happens is, especially in a gym area where there's a big community, what can happen is there can be friction between people within that community, because let's face it, in the real world, not everyone's going to get on with everyone. So if I'm seen by a community to have some pockets or favorites or some people contributing, and it kind of gives them some extra rights, that's led to some friction. Or some people have even just assumed that I would side with them on certain issues that have arisen, and it hasn't worked the best. So where I've tried to delegate some stuff before, that's not worked out for me. With things that I can pass on, like if I could get another couple of coaches in, that to a degree would be great, but the finances aren't there for it. It doesn't make sense for me at this moment. So it's almost like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So what one will breed into the other. So it's almost more of a slow burn at the moment as I just kind of build the foundations. But because that means I'm now spreading more of my hours across teaching, that allows me less time to do some of the other bits.
So you mentioned mentoring there. How do you have you gone about finding mentors?
Again, it was just an opportunity that was blessed upon me. So one of my gym members just started talking to me about stuff behind the business. So starting off, I would consider myself very front of house. If I was to consider myself in any way, it would be like a host. So when someone comes in, I want to make them feel welcome. I know the gyms can be intimidating, but ultimately I know you're going to have the best experience here when you have people around you that are going to support and care for you. So I'd always say to people, like, if you come into the gym, I don't want you to worry about your workout. I want you to worry about everyone else's. Because if we have 10 people in the room, there's me and 8 other people that care about your workout. We're going to make sure you get the best out of your workout. So equally, if someone else is getting the workout and you're helping them, that's what creates more of that community, rather than just 10 individuals and only me and you care about your workout. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Mentorship.
So in terms of the opportunity, he gave me the opportunity of seeing, almost peeking behind the curtains of the business. So what processes are in place? So when someone comes in and inquires about the gym, what is there? Do they get, how do I sort of get hold of their details? Is there a process of when they first walk through the door, do they go straight into a session? Do I have a chat with them? And it just opened up my eyes to like, oh, I have to establish all of this in the first place. Mm-hmm. In terms of the vision of the whole business as well, or like that mission statement, he was the one that kind of opened my eyes, and it's like I had the vision, but I couldn't put it into words. And he kind of just peeled back the blurriness. So it's like, oh, I know what I need to focus on now. And where we were saying about if you have 2 or 3 different things where you're like, which one do I do? Just sort of having that sort of focus on the lenses going, right, I now know what I'm doing. And there were some things that just seem fairly obvious in hindsight, but at the time, you just delay in times. So especially when I had colleagues, and you've kind of said about your delegation, if it's like, right, I want you to go sort out and get these logos done. For me, I would go and look at the logos, and then I'd come back and I'd also be like, right, are you happy with these logos? Because here's what I've got done. I'm almost showing the work, where it's like, I'm now creating a 1-person job and making it a 2-person job, trying to get the information back to him and doing it. It's like, no, it's my responsibility. If I like them, go with them. If not, deal with it afterwards. But it's, being efficient
process.
with it.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I find all of it is a learning period. As I say, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes some things seem so obvious and arbitrary, but actually not until you're told, then you're never really going to know. Like, for example, like, I know it's something you discussed off of air, but obviously you said about the concept of like the client relations, like nurturing your clients. To some people, they think, oh, of course I'm going to make sure they have a good time, but then they don't put them steps into doing it. But it's not until you get told and you can understand the process of why of doing things. Because I know you said before that's one of your big areas of looking after your clients.
Yes. So in terms of that as well. So in terms of like those relationships, like I said, I consider myself a host. So as part of being a host, there are ground rules in the gym of like what is and isn't tolerated. So the biggest thing for me is at this current time, it's half term. I want my clients to be able to train. So if they have kids, it's not the ideal solution, but it's like, look, bring your kids along. We've got a sofa in there because that's the feel I've gone for. I want them to chill out, put them on their iPads. There is some space where we can have them. And as long as they behave, that gives you the opportunity to work out. That's me looking out for the ones that have the kids. But then this then also has the impact on those that don't want kids and those that don't want to be around them. And then that's where it creates friction, where it's like, right, I need to envision what I want from the gym. So me thinking of the collective can be different from me almost going to each individual going, right, I'm going to try and give you that part of the service and give you that part of the service, where it's like you're mixing too much, where you just need the clear vision that everyone's aware. Like, look, if I can have kids in, I will. But equally, the kids that are in, if they start to behave in a way that then affects the rest of the class, then that's going to be where that allowance then gets reviewed, or that privilege gets reviewed, and then we don't have that anymore.
Mm. It's being as personalised as you can for your client, but also having sort of limitations to that and having boundaries, I suppose.
Completely agreed.
Yeah.
I think some things when you think about them can be easier to think of, and it's only when you experience them and then there's certain things that happen that you wouldn't possibly account for. I think that's some things that happen in business where I wouldn't even imagine that I've had some of the issues I have, but yeah. And then I think the best thing with those is when you do make mistakes, you have to clean them up, but then you know for next time. And that's the best thing. Like, I've had some pretty bad falling outs with members over things, and it was a really difficult decision, because if there's a behavior that wasn't great and you're trying to just hope that the behavior goes away, and then it drags on and there's issues going on, when it finally comes to a head and there's obviously a big amount of stress with sort of any falling outs, when a similar situation started happening, I knew that it needed to come to a head straight away, and the problem needed to be addressed. So I'm almost thankful that I went through that horrible experience to then be able to deal with it in the future when there was like a similar disagreement between members.
I think something that's really important, which I think people do seem to miss, or when they're outside of that situation, but it doesn't matter if you're Adidas or if you're just a local one-man band. I said everyone deals with bad situations and makes mistakes, but it's how you deal with them. And I saw a business recently they made a mistake, but then how they dealt with it was a lot of retaliation to that individual, which you saw it, and it was obviously on socials, and I'm thinking that's handled so poorly.
Yeah.
And like, for example, things can be like, we've all done it. I've made mistakes when it comes to lots of other stuff, and you say, hands up, I do apologise, this has happened, but don't worry, we can do A, B, and C, we can sort it. Is that okay with you? And they're like, and normally 9 times out of 10, they're like, okay, thank you very much, I really appreciate that. And even if that mistake's happened, they're still left with a good experience, and they'll come back. But if you give them a bad experience, you make them feel silly or they're in the wrong, they're just going to go to someone else.
Yeah, I think it's being self-aware is the issue that can happen as well, because the people that have retaliated back are probably a business that are not being accountable if they're the ones that have made a mistake. Whereas ultimately, if two people have come to an agreement, you're on the same team. You both want to provide the service. If you're unable to uphold to the best of your ability, and then they're complaining to go like, look, this wasn't what was expected, you're both still looking for the best solution out of that, and you're still working towards that, which is obviously what you've said about saying to them, right, what is the best for you? Like, I can offer this. Are you happy with that? And you're still giving them the choice.
Yeah. So I want to go back a bit. So have you always been into your fitness and everything like that? Is that what led to you? Sort of
yeah. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for me to get a bit personal, actually. So my whole idea of fitness is you should be able to do anything you need to in life. So especially as we get older, you have kids, you should be able to keep up with your kids. You should be able to pick them up. You should be able to just go about any task you need in life without sort of going, oh, need to go up the stairs, need to, catch my breath and make sure I get up them. When I wouldn't have known this when I was growing up, but my dad had cancer when he was very young. So he was in his 30s. Because of the time when he had cancer, there wasn't the same treatments available. So he had radiotherapy in his lower spine. As a result of that, he's then had muscular dystrophy. So if you see his from the knee down, no muscle at all, literally just the skin over the bone. So if he lifted his foot up because of the musculature not being there, his toes just dropped. Yeah. So this then put questions on whether he could walk again. As a result of his whole life changing like that, obviously as I've got older, this is something I think of. I think he's changed as a person since going through that experience. So things like his patience and stuff have gone. But then growing up, I was just always aware that he just wasn't as capable as he could have been. And then when I started to make my way through fitness, it was just one of those where I know a lot of people that are unable, but that's not through an incapacity. It's through a choice or choices that they're making that's not putting them in the best position to do that. So that's where it almost started for me as if people can, this is it's not a rite of passage, but people have the opportunity to build themselves a better life through fitness. And that's where I wanted to direct myself.
And has that become sort of a niche now? Is that your ideal sort of customer now with your gyms? Does there have to be is there a target audience within an age range, or people that are coming back from injury?
I wouldn't say age range. If I was to say certain niches, for me, it's if someone is training where they feel conscious or they feel they have something that is holding them back, how can you train effectively around that? So if someone has a shoulder injury, they're probably going to go, just train my legs. You still need to move the shoulder. So it's how can we best change that for you? So when it comes to movement, the best controlled form of movement is strict. So nothing moves apart from that singular joint. So for example, shoulders, it would just be a strict overhead press as you raise your arm up and lower down. Nice and controlled, lightweight, shouldn't have to anything, you're always in control. We can then start going into more extreme versions of that. So as you increase the force, maybe we get the hips involved as well. So there's more of a jump as we lift the weight, or there's something called a jerk, where as you drive the weight up, you're dropping underneath and then catching it with your arms extended. If we were doing a workout where there are jerks and we're looking for that, for anyone that is carrying an injury, we can regress it back. So the thing that I've loved from doing CrossFit is they say we workouts differ by degree, not by kind. So I always have had this thing of if you see someone training, why would your training look any different? I know there's an element of goals, but for the most part, if people are just generally looking to be healthier, the program you follow is general preparedness program. Can you be prepared for anything that throws it your way? That is what 99% of the population, to be honest, 100% of the population should be following that. But on top of that, maybe there's the elements of specialization if they're doing certain sporting achievements or something along those lines. So if everyone's doing that, how can two people's programs differ so wildly? So if you have a trainer who's doing something completely different to you, it's almost like, oh no, you get this basic package, but this is, special for me. I've never understood that. So for me, where I coach, there'll be certain points where I don't want people working out on their own. So if I have one person in a class, I will work out with them, because working out can be tough and you don't want someone just watching you suffer. That's not pleasant. But also them seeing me do it, it's, the proof is in the pudding. You wouldn't want to go to a window salesperson and then their house doesn't have any windows. You want to buy your own product. So the fact that people would see me do exactly what I'm programming for them gives even more value to what they're doing.
Yeah, brilliant. So is there any lessons that you've learnt, key lessons that you've learnt throughout your time as being a business owner?
To put it down to one, I'm not sure.
Or a few.
The hardest thing for being a business owner is finding your work-life balance. The stress and the strains, you have to have a priority of what is the most important thing to you in that moment. And yes, the business is important, but you also have personal relationships that you need to upkeep as well. And that's where you have to fight fight for, like, there's different parts of the relationship. So for me, I had a long-term partner, and in hindsight, I think being a business owner was a bit of a burden or a stress on the relationship. But one of the biggest stresses on that relationship was she was separate to the business.
Yeah.
If it was someone a bit more supportive within the environment, or someone that was engaged in it, it would have been a completely different issue, because you'd have more time exposed. You'd have, like, it becomes a thing together, where it was almost like I was living two separate lives. So now, looking for a relationship, it would probably be someone that would have to be more involved in the business that I'm in. It can't just be something separate, just to allow the, like, relationships to blend.
Brilliant. And are there any sort of non-negotiable habits that you would say business owners have to live by to be successful?
With most things, I think it's just consistency. If this is advice I'm going to say, I could follow it better myself, but you don't want to chase perfection. Like, perfection is the pursuit and engaging every day. So every day, what are you doing to contribute to your business? The worst things you can have are days or just blank spaces where nothing is getting done. One exercise that I found valuable is split activities into 4 different sections. So you've got important, not important, and then subcategories within both of those are urgent and not urgent. And it's important that you don't focus just on one of those boxes. So all things that are important are obviously going to be, like, important and urgent. You have to deal with that there and then, but you can't let those be distracting from things that are still important, but maybe not urgent, because 6 months down the line, it's still important, but you're nowhere near getting anywhere near it. So you have to budget time where, irrespective of things that are going on, you're going, right, I'm cementing X amount of hours this week towards these kind of tasks.
Brilliant. Well, Will, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a really good chat.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Cheers,
It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
much.
Cheers. So how was that, Jack?
I'll do it again because I was picking my nose.
So how was that, Jack?
That was really good. It was really interesting to see, and he went in a lot of detail about his original plan of the business with the 2 other partners. So, and again, it is an unfortunate aspect of business where things aren't always perfect and decisions have to be made. But again, like from what he's been saying, you can tell he's a different person now than he was.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear how much of, you know, his daily life and his mindset that he needs to change and think about when you're becoming a business owner and really doing things for yourself. So yeah, it was brilliant.
I think he definitely, I think he would definitely benefit from having that support from admin to different aspects of the business. But again, it is tricky to trust someone. It is tricky to understand, and hiring is so important. But again, it's just this journey that we're all in, and that we get tricky to get support in it.
And I think it is really important as well, because to mention about mentorship. So a lot of the episodes recently, we've sort of talked a little bit about mentorship and the importance of it during in entrepreneurship. And it doesn't have to just come from someone that you find online or that you're buying from. It can be from a friend. It can be from anyone. But really, it's to look out for mentors. You know, it can be a really sort of negative experience sometimes being an entrepreneur, especially by yourself. But reach out to people and try and just talk to them about how they've experienced sort of the entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, because people want to help.
Yeah,
I know people ask us questions. We had a client in yesterday, and they were asking me loads of questions whilst getting things set up, because people want it. Like, people want to know information. If you don't know, you don't know. So how on earth you're going to understand if you don't get taught the experience or have it yourself? So yeah, people are there to help. We're just trying to find them.
Brilliant.
Cheers.